Welcome to another episode of SEO BS, baby. Now, in this episode, we're not going to so much talk about search engine optimization. We're not going to so much talk about marketing per se, but we're going to talk about more time management. How do you get a lot of stuff done, especially if you're an entrepreneur? Sometimes, there's so much stuff to get done. Sometimes it feels like sometimes you feel like, you can't, there's not enough of you. There's so much to do. Sometimes it's easy to get overwhelmed. And, it's when you feel overwhelmed, sometimes you want to throw in the towel. When you get overwhelmed, sometimes you feel burnt out because there's so much in your mind what you have to do, and there's just not enough time in a day. But anyway, how do you get a lot of stuff done? And this is a loaded topic when we talk about time management. Now, I'm coming from more of an entrepreneur. Okay, more of a business owner. Even like a lot of my coaches and mentors, they're millionaires. Okay, and that's what I would advise you to do as well. Find mentoring coaches. It can be an array of mentors and coaches. People that you follow on social media that, they're not really personally coaching you, but you're following their YouTube channel, you're following their Facebook page, you're following them on the website or their podcast or whatever. That's one source. And another thing is, search out mentors and coaches that you can, they can personally coach you. Either you're meeting, once a month, once a week, bi-weekly, or so forth and so forth. So you want an array of mentors and coaches, not just mentoring coaches that, oh yeah, I follow Gary Vee, or yeah, I follow Ed Mylett, or yeah, I follow Bob Proctor, or what's another one, Jack Canfield. I follow all these people, and that's great. It's great for personal development and great for who you're listening to, who you're taking advice from. But it's also great to have mentors and coaches that you can personally meet with you as well. So you want different levels of mentor and coaches, or at least people that you're following online and people you can actually meet with in person. And another thing too, that's why I say kind of $1 million and up, or very close to $1 million. Just because, when I go out and get a job, or a W-2 job, or an employee job, well, I can make $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year being an employee. Okay, meaning that I still have the employee mind. Okay, yes, I might be upper middle class. I don't really consider that wealthy, but that's really good money. But when I go into these companies and stuff like that, people have some pretty high salaries, but they still think like an employee. For one, they're really not an entrepreneur like you and me. They're really not a business owner. They're not taking that ownership. Just because they come in and they pretend like they take ownership, you really have to look at their personal life. What are they doing in their personal life? Okay, and those are a couple things I want to kind of preach to you a little bit. What are you doing in your personal life? Are you just showing up for work, getting stuff done, pretending like you know how to get it done, and you come home? Okay, when you come home, you focus on your other hobbies or whatever outside of work. But the biggest thing I find in a company with all types of job titles, supervisors, managers, VPs, directors, COOs, CEOs, because sometimes a CEO is not the owner of their company, especially if it's a huge brand that's been around for 30, 40, 50 years. So lots of times when they hire a CEO, they're still an employee mindset. So what are you doing in your personal time? Okay. For example, are you personal developing? Okay. Sorry about that. Been out of camera, but are you buying books? Okay. This is Jack Canfield, by the way. Over here, I have tons of books on the bookshelf. I have tiny bookshelves down below, cabinets over here. I have books. I got books laying out over here on the desk. But do you have a personal development library? Are you reading? Are you an avid reader? And you're reading things that you're interested in. You're reading things about your business, how to improve across the board. Like if I want to get better at marketing and SEO, well, I'm going to find mentors and coaches that are better than me at marketing and SEO. I'm going to read books that people published that talk about that subject. I might go to seminars and so forth and so forth. If I want to get better at time management, I'm going to do the same thing. If I want to get better with my personal life, I'm going to do the same thing. And personal development is all areas. Okay, it's not just being successful in your business and making a lot of money. Well, those are just a couple areas, but you're neglecting all other areas of your life. The family, the friendships, and religion, your faith, and stuff like that. You're neglecting all those other things. So it's not about neglecting. It's about kind of having the whole piece of the pie. Okay. But that's one thing. The second thing is with personal development, are you going to, I kind of said this, but the second thing is, are you going to seminars? Okay. I'm not talking about certifications. I'm not talking about, okay, you went into college, you got your certification, or you did certifications in marketing or SEO certifications. There's certifications in everything now. Okay. It's kind of beyond that. Certifications are just aligned with what you have to know for that particular job, and that's it. So what I find is no matter if you graduate high school, you graduate college, you got certifications, but once you got all that stuff, you got your job, learning stops. Pretty much. Okay. People just know what they know from what they learned in college, then what they've learned on the job itself, and that's it. Okay, learning stops. So again, it flips back to personal development, and it flips back to number 2, with attending seminars. And attending seminars is going to be an array of things. You might attend seminars, again, marketing and SEO, since that's on top of my mind. You might attend seminars on time management. You might attend seminars on, how to build a business, attend seminars on how to build a brand, attend seminars, on teamwork. I went in seminars. Oh my goodness, I've been in so many seminars, I can't even go into it. I mean, at one time during my life, I went to seminars once every quarter. So once every 3 months, I attended some type of weekend seminar. That was an array of things, on sales, marketing, building a business, how to build a business, how to build a brand, how to time management, how to get a lot of stuff done, so forth and so forth. So because that all relates to business. That's all relates to how to build a business, how to build a startup. So are you doing those 2 things? The third thing is, when I go inside a company, is what most people don't do, is they don't have a business plan. They don't know what they want to achieve. They don't have goals, and so forth and so forth. So do you have a goal, what you want to achieve for the year? Do you have a business plan? Do you have a checklist, what you want to do? And it's, it's really about, it's business, but I'm also bringing in personal. Okay. So when I'm talking about this, I'm not always just talking about business. What are your business goals? But also, what are your personal goals? What are places you want to go? What vacations you want to go? So forth and so forth. You have business goals and personal goals. It's not just about business all the time. You have to migrate over your personal life as well. Okay. Now, those are the few things here, when you start adapting to an entrepreneur, a business mindset versus an employee mindset. Now, how do you get a lot of stuff done? One of the things over the years I started learning and start picking up from mentors and coaches, also from mentor and coaches I follow online. I mean, I buy a lot of books, I read a lot of books and stuff like that. I attend, lots of times I attend their seminars. I've talked to them in person as well. That one of the things I do is you can kind of see the writing. Most of the time you see writing on my boards when I do presentations. Sometimes I do presentations up here. I have writing down here. So a lot of the time, this is like a to-do list. So before I go to bed at night, I might start thinking, well, what do I want to get done the next day? What do I want to focus on for the whole week or for the next few days? So you start seeing kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing focus points. Okay, I'm doing focused time points throughout the day. I'm not scattered all around. I'm not trying to work on 12 different things in one day like an employee does. Like when they say multitasking, you go to an interview, they don't ask it too much. Sometimes they ask it in different ways, but it used to be really popular when you went to an interview. They would always ask, all the questions would be related to multitasking. At one time, that was crazy popular. Can you multitask, Chad? Give me examples of you multitasking. Give me examples of, you have to get 5, 6, 7 things done. How would you do it? It's all an employee mentality. It's not efficient. No matter if you get it done, when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's not really efficient. Okay. And I'll kind of explain that. You might agree with me or disagree with me, but I'll explain it in a second. But even last night, okay, I sat down, I was starting to feel a little bit burned out. And, because I've been working a lot on conquering SEO, been working a lot on the membership platform, uploading videos, doing how-to videos inside the membership portal. Then on top of, marketing for Conquering SEO, doing the SEO for Conquering SEO. So I started feeling a little bit, burnt a little bit. I wasn't getting as much done, and I'm sensitive to that. So I start, if I'm just going to come in the office, I'm just going to sit there and I'm trying to force myself to do something. Well, it's time to kind of focus on something else, take a few days off from Conquering SEO. And even though I still want to work, but I have to kind of shift a little bit, shift my duties. That way I can take maybe 3-4 days off from Conquering SEO. Let me kind of regenerate and kind of, kind of rethink and kind of get going, take a rest. But I can move on because I feel like doing something else. So what I mean by that is last night I sat down, I wrote on the board, I'm an author as well. So I have a children's book published. So I finally got the colored version published of the children's book. So I wrote down a whole to-do list what I have to do since it just got up on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff I got to do, interlink stuff, get it on the website, stuff like that. So I wrote a to-do list. I have another book that I'm working on. It's a children's book as well. It's kind of like the second edition of the first one. So I've been working a lot with a graphic artist. So I have to approve pictures and stuff like that, and I have to send her new pictures. So since the color version book got published, well, there's a lot for me to do over here with Apple the Golden Doodle. So then I wrote out a to-do list. Probably took me, this all right here is all in my head. Probably took me a couple minutes to write it out. But this is what I'm going to focus on for today's Thursday. So it's for the remainder of today, tomorrow, Friday, then throughout the weekend. That way, when I come back and I circle back to Conquering SEO, I'm kind of refreshed and ready to go. And that gives me time to get this done. So, but what I want to point out is, pretend this is my time. Okay, this ugly circle right here. And this is basically, okay, your time. Okay, now if we're multitasking, this is why multitasking don't work. Okay, this is kind of a diagram of almost multitasking in one day. When you start doing, many things in one day, okay, even though it looks like you're getting a lot done, it's really not that, as far as time efficiency, it's really not that time efficient. Okay, because you have to look at it this way. If I'm in one day, if I was going, okay, I'm going to work on Apple. Okay, the Apple book, or Apple the Golden Doodle book. Then I'm going to go over here and work on Conquering SEO. Then I'm going to come down here and work on the membership site. Then I'm going to come down here and, well, I got to clean. Then I'm going to come down here and I say, okay, I got to send out emails. Then I'm coming, you know what I mean? What starts happening is, or I'm going to come over here and I'm going to shoot videos. And so forth and so forth. What happens is every time I jump to something else, my mind is focused on Apple the Golden Doodle, my children's book. So if my mind focused over here, well, for me to jump over here, there's really a mental shift that happens. Like I gotta get refocused. So over here, I basically have to get refocused now. Okay, and that's what I mean by efficiency. It's not efficient. So now all of a sudden, either I'm taking a break, it takes me a half hour, 45 minutes to get refocused, then I can focus on here. That's why, that's why the whole multitasking don't really work. This is the same thing when you look at marketing and SEO, marketing agencies, this is the same scenario, what they do. The exact same thing. Because when marketing agencies, when they try to scale their company, well, they're scaling it, meaning that when they have multiple clients, okay, they're giving all their clients the same advice because that's how they scale the company. So when you look at middle class and employee mentality, a marketing agency is going to give all their clients the same advice because they don't have time. Because they're multitasking, they don't have time to sit back and think. They don't have time to do all this stuff, but they're scaling. They just have to, they come over here, and this is kind of the thing with agencies, is they come over here, this is one client, okay, they rush to get something done. Then they drop down here to client number 2, they rush to get something done. They come over here to client 3, again, they do the same thing. They rush to get something done. When you start rushing, especially with clientele and marketing and SEO, when you start rushing, what ends up doing, you start giving the same advice. Okay. And you start giving the same advice across the board, but that's how you save time, because all they're trying to do is save time. And they're just trying to scale their services. You know what I mean? So when they're rushing, the thing is, there's no thought process in your stuff. There's no strategy, because remember, strategy takes time. Okay. Attorneys do the same thing. When attorneys have many clients, okay, they end up giving you the same advice. They don't sit down, unless you're a big time client, they're going to make a lot of money from you. Then they're sit down and strategize with you. But other than that, they're not going to sit down and strategize with you, because strategy takes time. Same thing with marketing and SEO. There's a huge part of marketing and SEO that's strategy, just pure strategy. I mean, it takes, you're sitting there thinking, you're thinking the best way to do, you're thinking about your brand, how to improve your brand. This is all strategy. So, they're rushing too much. This is like more of an employee mentality. What does an employee do? No matter if you like it, you don't like it, no matter if the work is beautiful or ugly, they're just working to try to get it done. But that's what you said. Okay, it's done. If you don't like it, I don't care, because you just wanted it done. That's more of an employee mentality. And it's the same thing they do in marketing agencies. Just because they hire employees. Most of the time they're hiring interns or people with 1 to 2 years of experience. So, but the main thing here, they just give you the same advice across the board. That's how they scale. You have to understand that. You don't have to believe me, but that's exactly what they do. But let's kind of flip back down here to kind of time management. So with time management, when you're scattered like this, it's not efficient. So kind of usually what I do, I kind of said, I'm working at focused time frames. So when I'm working on focused time frames, let me erase this really quick. So when I'm working on focused time frames, usually what I'll do is, if I'm going to focus on Apple the Golden Doodle, the book, I might focus the whole day on it. Okay. Or I might take 3 or 4 days and focus on it. Then it doesn't mean I'm not going to do something else here and there. But usually, like when you look at your day, okay, usually what happens, you only want to focus on 2 or 3 things per day. Okay, I mean, that's kind of a given. That's really across the board. 2 or 3 things. If you go up to 4 or 5, but no more than 5, but 2 or 3 things. You're not doing 8, 9, 10, 11 things. It's not about how many things I can get done during a day. And, it's not really efficient, and you really start seeing crappy work. Lots of times that's why sometimes employees have crappy work, but they're trying to get things done too fast. So that way it's just done. And I see that this is becoming more popular in companies now when I go into departments and stuff like that. Employees are just getting it done because that's what they think, like almost like as a student or like as a kid, that's what they think their teacher wants, so they just give it to the teacher. So, and even kids have this mentality now where they give their homework to the teacher. Well, if the teacher don't like it, almost the kids are coming back and saying, well, I can't help it you don't like it. You just wanted it done. So I got it done. I got it done on time. So I can't help it you don't like it. So it's, it's the, employees have that same mentality. Well, I can't help it you don't like my blog, Chad. But I'm reading their blog and it just looks like they just copy and pasted a bunch of stuff together and they're just trying to get it done as fast as possible. You can kind of tell people's work that they didn't really put any time into it. They're just trying to get it done for the sake of getting it done so they can move on to something else, or they can move on and kind of play around at work. So either or. But again, focus on 2 or 3 things a day. Okay. And it's focus time frames. Like I might come in and I might spend, 2 hours being super focused on one thing. okay, on one thing. So when I sit down and work, I might come in, I'm spend 2 hours, I'm so focused on, Apple the Golden Doodle, the book series. Then let's say you take a break, okay, because I was like super focused. Okay, then when I come back, let's say I come back for another hour, I do the same exact thing. I'm super focused on one thing. Okay. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm super focused. Like for example, I'll give you an example. When I want to start a YouTube channel on Conquering SEO and SEO BS, that when I decided to do a YouTube channel, I focused the whole week on that YouTube channel. I didn't do anything else besides, make videos and do the camera, did the YouTube art and stuff like that, set up the channel and stuff like that. I spent the whole week on it. That's the only thing I did for that whole week, was filming videos for it and then kind of strategizing around it, thinking about what I wanted to do, thinking about the brand of it. That's all I focused on, was YouTube for that whole week or a week and a half, something like that. I focused on one thing. Now I did do a couple other things in there, but my main focus point was YouTube. So it's the same scenario here. It's the same focus point. Now let me share with you a little bit about, I've done a lot of time management mentoring with Jack Canfield. I've been to several of his seminars, I buy all his stuff, and he brings up a lot about time management because it's about getting stuff done. And he gives several scenarios in here, not one thing. One thing might not work for you, but you might be able to adapt to a different way. I mean, that's why this is a loaded subject. It's kind of slowly giving you different pieces and you kind of figure out what works for you. Now, one of the things what Jack does is he does what's basically, I forget what he really calls it, but he does kind of focused time frames, but he does focused days. Okay, so what I mean by that is he'll take a whole day and he might, in my example, I'll spend the whole day on my Apple book series. Okay, or for another example, I might spend the whole day working with Conquering SEO. Okay, now he even does like whole days where he'll do a whole day off. So he's not working on work. Okay, or a whole day of fun day. Okay, now he even separates it out. Let's say you have to do, errands and you have to clean. You have to do because it's human nature. We have to keep up with our place. We have to do, odd things that you can say you have to multitask. Like you have to clean, check the mail, sort through the mail, do your taxes and do all this stuff. Well, what he says, you don't bring that into your work day, where then you're multitasking, you're jumping around trying to do 20 things in one day. You focus one day to do it. Okay, so he said you're do like one whole day as you're doing errands. Okay, or you're doing just various stuff that needs to get done. Okay, for example, like when I wanted to clean the office here, I had papers all over the floor. It was getting crazy in here because I was super busy going back and forth, going to work and coming home. So I spent a whole day to basically clean. That was my mind frame, my mental frame. So I spent a whole day to do it. I didn't try to do many things. I wasn't cleaning and at the same time working on Conquering SEO, same time working on my book, and same time writing blogs. I spent a whole day on cleaning. So that's basically the simple things. He blocks out whole days to do it. And he said sometimes you might have 2 days during the week, might be whole days to basically catch up days, might be whole days to, you have to sort through paperwork, whatever, but you're spending focused time frames, focus points. That's what I mean by focus points. You're not blending everything into one day. You're more focused. And I can tell you the comical thing with this, I'm gonna wrap this up, but the comical thing with this, when I try to bring this into an employee setting, and I try to bring this into companies and corporations, they literally think I'm flipping crazy because they've been so, it's so much of a mentality to multitask. It's so much of a mentality of, well, we have an open door policy here, Chad. but open door policies don't work. Open door policies cause chaos, and open door policies are super inefficient. I'll give you an example. One of the last companies I worked for, they were kind of a smaller family company. I didn't know it was like that big of a family before I started there. But what they were doing is, in the marketing department, I was part of the marketing department because I was doing SEO for them, or for their couple businesses. And the marketing department had 5 employees, including myself. So in the shipping department, their shipping department had 3 employees. Okay. Now the shipping, it was kind of attached. The shipping was attached to manufacturing, so that it was kind of, the shipping was attached to the factory department as well. Meaning that they're packing boxes, getting shipments ready, but then at all the same time, when they're getting loads of equipment in, they're the ones that's unloading it and putting it in the warehouse and so forth. So it was kind of combined. But when I worked there, what was happening was the manager of the shipping department was an older lady, which this was a very physical job. So of course she couldn't do nothing physical. Then the next employee was like a longtime family friend, but she was just a young girl, but she's working in like a factory, whatever, a very labor intensive job. She couldn't do most of the stuff. Then they hired, a guy finally to work in a factory and shipping, but he couldn't handle everything himself. So then they would pull from, they expected the marketing department, because a lot of companies, even though they think marketing or SEO is important, it's, that's one of the least, sometimes it's one of the least appreciated departments. They think like, you can do multiple things. So that's basically what started happening, where, not lying, like maybe 4, 5, 6 times a day, that every time a load would come in, they would come and get the whole marketing department. We would have to go out and help unload the trucks, unload the pallets, sort through the pallets, because when they have stuff coming in from overseas, everything's not organized. So you have to sort through everything. So you have to sort through all these boxes, put them on new pallets, wrap them up, help get them in, get them into the warehouse. And every time they had a pickup or a shipment, the shipments were huge on the pallets. You had to go out and help move the pallets because they were heavy. So almost all of us in the marketing departments were guys. So once that went on for, I was there for a couple months. When that went on for a couple months, then I started saying something, because I said, well, it doesn't make any sense. We're literally in the marketing department, or even SEO, we're not getting anything done. It's not efficient. It's kind of like they had an open door policy, where anytime somebody wanted help, they expected the marketing department to go up and help. So if I'm in the middle of doing SEO, I'm in the middle of writing a blog, and if you're a writer, you get this. So you're right in the middle of doing something, and someone comes in and says, hey, Chad, we need you, or hey, we need you guys. Then you just drop and go. Okay, you drop and go, you might be gone for 45 minutes, an hour. Then when you come back, you have to get refocused on what you were doing. So it might take you a half hour to get refocused on what you're doing, or the creative juices are just gone. You're sitting there trying to, finish what you were doing. It wastes time. People don't look at it like that, but it wastes time. So that's what they were doing. So then when I started, saying something, of course I ended up getting fired because I'm saying something, but, or they just basically say, oh, we don't need, SEO anymore or whatever. But, you kind of know the real reason, because you're saying something, you're basically saying, hey, it's not efficient. We're kind of being pulled to kind of help. It's not that I don't want to be a team player, but you're pulling, 4, 5, 6 times a day. It doesn't make any sense. There has to be a better way how to do this. Because probably about 60% of my time was helping out the shipping department. So it didn't make any sense. I'm supposed to be there doing SEO. Then when they want to hold me accountable for SEO, well, 60% of my time is helping a whole nother department that has nothing to do with SEO. So when you look at open door policies, it usually causes chaos, and it's not efficient. It doesn't work. So it's the same thing. Like if someone comes in and they want to speak with me, want to meet with me, but there's an issue. It's not that I don't want to meet with them, but you want to control it. You want to be able to say, okay, Jack, I'm right in the middle of something, but you look at your schedule. I have time at 1 p.m. I'll meet you there at 1 p.m. That's being in control. That's kind of what you want. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic. I think you know what I'm kind of saying and talking about. But anyway, that's really the scenario of time management. It's focused time frames. Okay, when you work for you set aside time on work between 10 and noon. From between 10 and noon, I'm focused on one thing. Okay, then when I take a break, when I come back, I'm focused on one thing. I'm not focused on 20 things. Okay, I'm focused on one thing. And almost like with Jack Canfield, now he does focused days. He does whole days focused on one or two things. And he even again, to kind of recap, he even takes days when it's more of errand days. You got to get a lot of stuff done. You got that don't really pertain to your business, pertains to your personal life. Getting things organized and paper organized. You have to do taxes and so forth. He spends like a whole day doing that. That way you spend a whole day, then the next day you can focus on work or focus on something else. But other than that, my friends, that's it. And I'll see you in the next episode of SEO BS.